So, I had finally made a video, and it was about the Usher incident, and it was over him contracting, or in other words, passing herpes to other people that he had relationships with, whether they were serious or non-serious relationships. So this right here, this video, is sort of like, I guess, a spin-off from the last video, the very last video that I did about the Usher incident. And celibacy and abstinence sounds really good right about now. um so I wasn't gonna do a video about celibacy and abstinence, but because I thought maybe it was kind of lame. But now that we're seeing the developments of, um, a great example would be the Usher lawsuit and the incident that he is going through, or the trouble he's going through with the relationships, the extra outside activity, or the people who are accusing him of giving them herpes, herpes simplex 2, 1. There's different versions. There's a 1 and then there's a 2. And there was a young lady that responded to one of my videos. She said that you can get herpes even if you have protection. And I have to respond and say that that is absolutely correct. Now, I did say in my video that you could get it from kissing, because there's herpes 1. Believe it or not, when you see people with those cold sores are the part 1 of herpes. And herpes 2 is when it's on the genitalia, it's on the lower trunk. um, as I recall reading, it's on the lower portion, or it's on other parts of the body. And you can get it sexually, you can get it from kissing, skin to skin contact. And so sometimes, using prophylactics, using protections, don't always protect you for certain areas that the outbreak occurs. So that is absolutely correct on that. And I know I mentioned that you can get it from kissing. Um, so that was my way of saying that. I was trying to do it in a mild sense to not freak people out, because I know when people hear about these stories, they kind of get freaked out, and then it kind of makes people like, wait a minute, herpes, what the heck is that? Or they might know something about it and they don't know enough information on it, but you can just, it's all over the internet. You can read about it, so it's not hidden. But it's just, I don't think people take things serious enough. They kind of live their life like nothing will happen to them. And I believe that's the reason why you hear these stories about people catching, diseases and, certain illnesses. And now, believe it or not, like, you have these relationships that are open relationships that also brings people at a greater risk, because now you're including all these other partners in your marriage, and you're opening yourself up, you and your spouse are opening yourself up to more sexual partners. So you have even greater chance of catching certain diseases, or certain sexual diseases, because you've opened up your marriage for that kind of thing. Some people are not in open marriages and they've been cheated on, and this has happened to them, and they may not be famous, but they can relate to stories like this. And that may play a part as to why some women choose to be single and not get into relationships, unless they know the person is going to be honest. And a lot of times I really have not really found people that'll just sit down and say, oh, by the way, think about it. Oh, by the way, in my past, I had a lot of partners and I was involved in a lot of activity, and I've been exposed to X, Y, and Z. And a lot of people don't just sit down and tell people all of their business like that. And some of the reasons is because maybe they've been hurt. And I think the reason too, another reason would be is they don't know who that person is that they're trying to talk to or get involved with, that maybe they might be hiding something, they're not being honest about who they've been with. Because let's face it, when you're in these relationships, it's not a one-way street. And so that's the thing, and that's what makes it so difficult. I've listened to like some people who talk about relationships and hardships and trying to get involved in relationships or get out of relationships that are bad. And sometimes I'll listen to Deborah Cooper. I believe that's her name. She has a lot of great information about relationships. So I listen sometimes to the things that she says, which is real raw truth. And some people can't handle it, and they get offended. And so I would suppose she gets a lot of hecklers and guys who are just really hateful towards women of color. And so she'll say things that are the raw truth, and a lot of times it is really a reality. And this is stories probably that she's not just pulled out of her hat. These are real situations that maybe women have come to her and they have listed out or described some incidences that they have encountered in these relationships with males, and primarily it's people of color. And so they disclose to her their situation, and so she lays the foundation out there to let you know that this and this is what's going on, and what kind of ways that people are thinking, and what kind of things that are going on in the world, especially in the black community, with women of color and men of color, that this is the way they talk to them. This is the kind of scenario they lay out. These are the ultimatums. This is the game that guys are running. And so a lot of it is relationship advice, which is very well, I find it well respected, because a lot of what she's saying, I have personally, I can relate to a lot of the incidences, some of the ways that guys come at women. And then I've heard other male talk show hosts, and a lot of times I find they come off as angry, um, mad, because they can't get women to listen. And it's crazy because a lot of times these guys, they don't have anything else to offer a woman, and you'll hear the anger in their voice because they simply can't get a woman to listen to them. And possibly the reason is because some of the stuff that you come at women with is immature, and it's unrealistic. If you think women are gonna like accept a man who's unproductive, he's not trying to do anything positive in his life, he's angry all the time, he's throwing violent words at you, he's emotionally and physically abusive to women, no decent one is going to want to be bothered with that kind of activity. And this is what usually, those are the types that you hear on these videos ranting and raving about how women did this to them and women did that to them. And they're very mean spirited. And so that's the reason why they have trouble getting into relationships or keeping relationships. And I'm not saying it's just all males. Now, I've heard some females who will say things that kind of make women as a whole sound like we're needy, or we should stay in a corner or in a box, back in the 1950s or 60s type thinking. And it's kind of sad because these women don't represent all women. And it's sad because not all women want to just stay in the kitchen and stay home. I'm not saying that there aren't women out there that would protest against just being a homemaker. And I'm not saying, oh, that's a bad thing, but that isn't all women's ideal of having a great relationship or a great life. Some women do want to, learn a trade, or they want to go to school, or they want to have a career, and be a mom and a wife. Some women don't want to be a mom. Some women don't want to be a wife. You know, what I feel like there should be flexibility. If everybody looked the same, did the same things, life would be boring and there would be no competition whatsoever that's positive for people to rise above an occasion to say, I can do better than this. There's more to me than just staying at home. There's a lot of talent. You wouldn't have women who wanted to be entrepreneurs, who wanted to be business owners, who wanted to rise to the occasion and be the best that their potential can give them. And so this is the reasons why I really get, I guess it's like a pet peeve to hear, even women kind of downgrade or downplay women as a whole. Because when you hear these talk shows, and it's a male's talk show, but then they'll have a group of females who are real submissive to that talk show, and they're really like one-sided, and these are the women who are kind of, they don't mind having men talk at them, not talk to them, but talk at them and tell them and direct them and guide them in which every direction they should go. So they act as though they don't have a mind to think for themselves, to progress themselves to a higher level or a higher state of being, as just being an individual, because you're a human, you're a person too. Just because you are of a female gender type does not mean that you don't have a mind to think for yourself, a mind to speak for yourself, and to go out and venture out in the world and be who you really want to be, and it limits people on their potential. And I think that's wrong to do that. And for somebody to feel insecure about you wanting to be successful in life, something is wrong with them. And see, and that is what I believe is a threat to the ones that have a lower state of being, and they really don't want to rise to anything. They kind of, maybe they don't have a lot, of potential to move forward in life. So they want to find somebody that's beneath them, or that they can bring down to their level or lower, so that they can just pretty much emotionally beat you in the brain with subliminal messages about how, women can't do this and women can't do that. And how many times have we heard that? Even like in math, they've kind of made women feel like men are better at math than women, and that is, engineering is a male's job. And and that is the reason why you have women who in the past, they weren't able to really perform math because they just never were taught to do so, and they were always directed at staying in the kitchen and having children. And it's unfair and it's unrealistic. And there are women who are engineers. There are women who are able to perform math and to do some of the technical jobs that males have done. So it doesn't make you any less of a woman to be intelligent and intuitive. So I don't find that should be a threat, but it is a threat. However, it is a threat when you have people who don't want to see you do better in life. They don't want anything, and they don't want you to have anything either. And I believe this is where this is coming from, bottom line. And then I'll hear that you'll see the titles of videos. Oh, this is why all black men stay unmarried, or they won't get married. When you see titles like that, you know, when you see those types of titles, you already know this is going to come from a misogynistic point of view, and that this person automatically, they're going to say everything negative that they can pull out the hat, even if they try to do it in the most educated way. Because we got people that are on these sites that will try to do a little bit of homework. Some of them don't even do that. They just come right off the top of their head and say all of the things that they want to say, because really they're talking about themselves. and why they won't get married, but they make it seem like all men have the same circumstance, you know. Now, I know there's some men that find women who are intelligent attractive, because some men will find women who have a brain and can use it attractive, because they know that, oh, my brain, her brain, we could go some places, we can do something, you know, we can change things, you know, to me and her and me, you know, us together, you know, we could rise both together. And some people think like this, and see, they kind of throw those people out of the whole equation. They don't realize that some men are attracted to women who are like very intuitive, very inquisitive, very intelligent, have a higher standard of living or thinking even. Um, Maybe they are goal oriented. Those things can attract a person to someone else, and they find that, you know, a big plus. And if a woman can talk for herself, instead of some woman that, you know, she just, it's nothing but gutter mouth and gutter mouth talk. And, you know, of course, when people are upset, everybody can go there. It doesn't take a lot of know-how to, you know, like, get somebody set off. But can you verbalize? Can you have decent conversation? Can you, you know, have a nice dinner and talk about politics? Even if you don't talk about politics, is there something that you can conversate about that is on a positive and educated level, or at least common sense level, that a person can relate to, and they feel comforted that every other word is not a cuss word? Because you got some people, they don't even know how to talk without using profanity. Every word has to be some type of profanity in that conversation, in the lingo. You know, I'm not saying that sometimes you don't feel like throwing in a word or two here and there, you know, but, you know, because some people will do it because they're trying to get a point across and they're trying to come at you raw, where people generally, you know, people will understand, you know, it hits home, you know, and they're not using all these other, you know, educated jargon type words that people are, you know, you got to go look in an encyclopedia or dictionary to figure out what this meant. Oh, prolifera, you know. So I'm just saying, it's just sad, because I really believe that these are the things that I think are going to eventually transpire, if they haven't already. Is there's going to be more single people, more people choosing to be celibate, more people choosing to abstain from sex longer, wait to get in relationships. There might even be more common law relationships at this point, because of all of the things that are going on. And it's not just the males, it's also the females, you know, are feeling the same way, have been feeling the same way. It's, you know, I have seen people say, oh, this is why men don't get married, but a lot of women don't want to get married, you know. You know, despite what people think, you know, you have women who come from traditionalized families, where the goal is to, you know, meet your shining prince in armor, get married, have a beautiful family, and a happy life ever after. And that doesn't always happen for everyone in the same fashion. Some people will go to churches, they're part of religions, and that's the reason why they wait to have any intercourse. I've known heard of stories where women have waited to be intimately involved, and they get married, and then they end up catching something, you know, an STD, or the husband leaves them for another woman, or, you know, he's cheating. And so, you know, just think of how devastating that is. um, and then, you know, like, for example, you know, I was taking my son to the dentist office, and, you know, I saw this, it was a barber shop. It's pretty, you know, prevalent, like, where, you know, a lot of people go. It's got a lot of foot traffic, and so I'm not gonna say where, but the guy, he sees this Hispanic woman, and she's got on these shorts, and, you know, the shorts were like really, really like what you call, we used to call them back in the days, they called them Daisy Dukes, like the Dukes of Hazzards. Now I know I'm telling my age, but they had these shorts that were really like short. One time they called them hot pants. You know, they were really, really short, and they were like cutting into her, you know, where you could see her everything. And so I noticed, now I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I've seen some young Hispanic women that will wear these shorts, and I know that they know it draws attention. And sometimes I feel like there's some women that like that type of attention. And I've seen black women who have done things like that. You'll wear something that's like way too small, but and it looks almost like you want people to say something to you. And so this barber guy, he comes out, he says, "Oh, this, you are so beautiful," you know, and right away he doesn't know anything about this woman. He doesn't know if she's married. He doesn't know if she has an STD. Just because she looks a certain way doesn't mean she's clean. How many people she slept with. But right away he's giving her compliments, right? And it's because she, you know, she basically looks like, you know, those women that kind of want that type of attention. And so I'm thinking to myself, and he's a black guy, so you know, I know that, you know, it used to be where they would do this to, you know, I believe they still do. You know, some black women, they like that type of attention. But see, this is the problem. It's like some people are into just the physicality of how a person looks rather than what they, you know, what their mindset is, you know, where they're going, what level are they on, you know, intellectually. They're, you know, they, you know, you can look a certain way and just be really stupid. You know, just not have any goals. Your only goals is getting your hair and nails done, and you know, you don't have any work potential, no work history, no goals of achieving anything higher in life. You just really want to be a trophy or a prima donna, or you want somebody to take care of you. And I know there's some women that are into that kind of stuff. I personally, I always view that as the reality star syndrome. You know, like those women, some of them, now not all of them, now some, there are a few that already have their money. They come in on those shows already paid. But there's some women, they come in on those shows because they're looking to get paid. And they're looking for some baller or some guy to take care of them. You know, and I know of some people who have done that, and it didn't work well for them at all. It worked for a time, I will say that. But it didn't work, you know, well in the long run. It, you know, it crumbled. You know, I went to high school with some people who ended up on Atlanta Housewives. I'm not going to say who, um, but she had ended up having a really bitter divorce twice. Um, and some people will probably be able to guess who it is, but she was, in the beginning, she was married to an R&B singer, and then after the R&B singer, she ended up marrying a football player. And then she, you know, she had this nice mansion, and then she had to downgrade. So I don't know what happened to her after that. She's probably on a talk show or on a show or doing something else, or off in venturing into some other avenue, because I'm sure she has friends in higher places that will, you know, help her to do a comeback in some type of way. But all the other women seem to progress in the show, and I think the reason why she got off the show, it was because of the divorces and incident that she had. And it's crazy because one of the actresses from the Cosby Show ended up marrying the guy that she had divorced previously. So there was a big dispute between those two. So I was like, I was all in it. I knew, you know, what the whole thing was about. You know, we went to high school together. We had a couple of classes together. We weren't close, but I do know her. I know the family, or know of the family. I'm not close to them. So let me say that again. I'm not close to them. I don't talk to them on a regular first name basis or anything like that, but I do know something about her. Even in high school, she was like always wanting attention. And this is where I'm coming from. You know, some, just because a woman looks a particular way doesn't mean she has substance. in a positive way, that is. So it's like some of these guys are under the illusion. They kind of think with the leg that's between the two legs, and it's sad. It's like, hey, kind of get away from that and think about who this whole woman is altogether, because you can get with somebody and she may look like a movie star, but she might be like really crazy. She might have a lot of partners. You're not the only guy she's sleeping with. And so it can happen on there are women who are players, believe it or not. There are women who will play men, and you know they get their bubble busted out there because they think they're playing these women, but these women sometimes know the street better than the males do. And they know what kind of games the guys are running because they've been the victims of it. So you have some women that flip that stuff around and they say they'll use it to their advantage. Okay, he wants to play this game, two can play it. So I just think people need to realize what they're getting themselves involved in. Don't always look at the outside appearance of people and assume that tells you the whole story about them. So I guess with that being said, celibacy and abstinence does not sound like a bad idea. I find it to be very rewarding, and I'm saying this on a personal level. You think clear, the things that you want to do, you don't have anybody like that's, impeding on the goals that you're trying to achieve. Maybe when you get to the goals that you want to achieve, then you can think about having a relationship later down the road. If you're aspiring to have something meaningful and long term, you might want to think about being celibate for a while and giving yourself a break from some of the monotonous of having a relationship, because a relationship is an investment. I really do believe it is. It's an investment. It's not where it should be taken lightly, where people should assume that, oh, okay, it's just, a sex thing, or it's just go to dinner, wine and dine. It's like 1, 2, 3 ABC steps, and then boom, you're married. No, there's a lot of things that you go through, even when you do decide to commit with someone, even if you don't have like a marriage contract. There's an investment in it. So it is like, somebody had mentioned it's like a business. It shouldn't just be a business. So if you just look at marriage as just a business, then you're already headed for divorce court, because there has to be friendship, there has to be unity, there has to be an agreement, there has to be some trust issues. There has to be more than just trust, but there has to also be, the factor is not just the two people. Sometimes people don't even look at this side of it. When you get involved with people, what are their family members like? Are their family members intrusive, nosy? Are they going to break up your relationship? Sometimes it's not the two people. It could be the outside people that are related to the people. Maybe the mother, she's intrusive, or the father is intrusive, or maybe she's got sisters and brothers that are like, hampering the relationship. Maybe they don't like who you're with. So there's a lot of factors involved. It could be the, cousins, uncles, whatever. And people don't even look at none of that stuff. They just talk about, oh, I want to get married, I want to get in a relationship and all this kind of stuff. And you don't know what his mother is like. You don't know if she's damaging. She's the problem. She's the reason why you're not together. Or maybe it's the sister. She's nosy. She's got it out for you. She just doesn't like you. It could be a lot of stuff. So, and either way, so people don't really look at this. It could be over money. The person they have an account they didn't tell you about. You thought you guys were honest about your finances, and here you find out that this person has money that they're keeping from you. Who knows? Or you're keeping something from them. So there's a lot involved. That's why I say it's an investment, because there's a lot that you won't know about a person. Even sometimes in a year, you still won't know everything about a person. And so, unbeknownst to, you know, these issues, it's just, it's sad that people don't really do a lot of research about who they're getting involved in, you know, before they, venture down that road. It's like, they just go in like a horse with blinders on, or like getting in and jumping in a pool. You don't know if it's got water in it, and you're just ready to dive into the relationship, and you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It could be really destructive. It could be a train wreck, waiting to happen. So, well, with that being said, it's like I say, in the beginning I said I wasn't going to do a video about abstinence, but it sure looks good right about now, especially when you hear about the stories about, people coming out, suing you for, giving them something. And here's the thing with that. It's like, what activities were those people engaging in? You have to question that. You can't just question the one person that they're, now I know people are saying, well, the three people said that he did it and they all were involved. But think about it. Out of those three people, did one of them have it and pass it to him, and then he passed it to the other two? It could be a whole nother ball game. So this is hard. And then the wife, you notice she said some things, and she's fighting back with some of these people who are accusing him. But then some people say that maybe she has it. Maybe she has it, and she's willing to go the long haul with Usher. Um, because there are people who they know that their spouse has some, STD from a former relationship. They kind of know this, and their whole thing is, well, why did you sleep with him and he was married in the first place? You know, so it's a lot. It's a big, ugly can of worms. So I know it's like, it's crazy. It's like, but people, see, this is what you see all these videos about, oh, let's get married, all this kind of stuff. But I always say, everybody is not meant to be married, and marriage is not easy. It's not what people are thinking. And like, some of these churches were like pushing people to get married, especially when the marriage equality thing happened with gay people. They were like, you could have these black churches where they were trying to force black people, like, "Yeah, just go ahead, get married so we can prove that black love exists," and all this. But marriage is not easy. Even gay people have problems. Just because you're gay doesn't mean it's easy street. You don't think that those people are not going to run into problems. Watch, in a few, maybe less than a few years, you're going to start seeing gay marriages. There's some of them that are going to have controversies or divorce. There are going to be drama in that. There's going to be some drama. Just like in regular straight marriages. It's an investment. The same thing. They got to get involved with the people's family. It's a whole nother arrangement. So, well, I guess long-winded. With that being said, I am out. Thanks for listening.